What's up, everyone? It is the beginning of week 12 in the 20-week training plan. Got an update around some of the hip and groin issues I've been experiencing over the last few months. So a while back, I made a video talking a little bit about pelvic floor dysfunction and some of the symptoms I'd been experiencing since last July. So it's been 9 going on 10 months of just off and on symptoms like urinary frequency, mild burning when I go to the bathroom, groin pain, hip tightness, just all sorts of stuff. So I've seen numerous providers now across different specialties. I've done a whole battery of tests and different types of treatments. Let me just run through the list here. So multiple urinalyses and cultures. I've done a cystoscopy, which if you don't know what that is, look it up, not fun. I've done a bladder ultrasound, I've done a CT scan, X-ray, MRI, over a dozen sessions of pelvic floor physical therapy, pelvic floor dry needling, also not very comfortable, almost a dozen rounds of sports PT. So I've done a lot over the last, in particular the last 6 months, to try and figure out what the heck is going on. A couple months back, I'd seen an orthopedist. That was when I did the X-ray and MRI, and they did confirm that I have a hip impingement on the left side. It's called a cam impingement. So I've got that, the cam impingement. I've got pelvic floor dysfunction, just some hypertonic muscles, just muscles that are super tight down there, causing some issues. But the additional piece to the puzzle that I got this past week, so again, I've been having some mild groin pain, just kind of this occasional dull aching. Nothing too bad, you know, on a scale of 1 to 10, it's usually a 1, at most a 2. It doesn't hurt when I train, thankfully, so I've been able to row with no issue, run with no issue, even lift weights with no issue, actually. And I have not noticed any correlation really between training and flare-ups afterwards. It just seems to randomly, the symptoms just, and same with the pelvic floor stuff, the symptoms just randomly seem to come and go, which has also made it really challenging and frustrating to deal with, because I don't know on any given day when I wake up if it's going to be a good symptom day or a bad symptom day. I have been doing more research on my own because I've seen, along with all these tests I've done, I've seen numerous providers, right? I've seen my family doctor, I've seen a urologist multiple times, I've seen an orthopedist multiple times, I've seen numerous physical therapists, right? I've seen many different providers, and when I was researching online, I found, I think it was on Reddit, I found a few folks who were basically talking about similar symptoms and saying what it ended up being for them was an inguinal hernia. So a little light bulb went off in my head, and some of my symptoms sounded pretty similar. So I went to my family doctor. Really important to advocate for yourself in the healthcare system. So I asked him, I said, or when I went into the clinic, he asked why I was there, and I said, hey doc, I'd like you to just assess me and see if you think I might have an inguinal hernia. He did his physical exam, didn't feel anything, and he said, yeah, I don't think it's a hernia. I don't think that's your issue. But I asked him anyways. I said, can you order me an ultrasound anyways? Because I would just like to know definitively. So he went ahead and ordered the ultrasound. I went in last week for a groin / scrotal ultrasound. And sure enough, I have an inguinal hernia. So what is an inguinal hernia? I won't go into a ton of detail because there's all sorts of content you can find on the web that covers it in great detail, and I'm also obviously not a medical professional, but essentially the way I understand it is your abdominal lining. So if you think about all of your internal organs, I'll use an analogy of a plastic bag. All of your organs have to be held by something. So your abdominal lining essentially is your plastic bag. And if you think about your organs as, let's say, the groceries inside a plastic bag, the plastic bag has shape and structure and keeps all of the contents within it from falling out. And so a hernia is when there is a slight tear or hole in that lining, so in my abdominal wall in this case, and that allows the contents within the bag, within the abdominal lining, to start to protrude out. In many cases, it could be just fat, not as big of a deal. In some cases though, it could be fat and or organs, and most often, generally speaking, your bowel. So you'll actually have, your intestines will start poking through the hole. And the inguinal hernia, there are different types of hernias, but an inguinal hernia is one that is down kind of in the crease, the groin area, so lower abdomen, relatively common in men. So I've learned that over a quarter of all men at some point in their lifetime will have an inguinal hernia, just given the way male anatomy is due to other hereditary elements and risk factors. Men are much more prone to these than women are. And so for an inguinal hernia, in my case, I have a 2-centimeter tear in the abdominal lining, and the ultrasound tech was able to see, so she had me do the Valsalva maneuver where you clench bearing down, creating intra-abdominal pressure. When I did that, she could see the organs protruding out a little bit. Sounds really graphic, but I'm not too stressed about it actually. And I'll be honest, I am actually happy that I have some concrete information and a concrete diagnosis to go off of that could help explain some of my symptoms, if not most of my symptoms. Because I do believe, even though my pelvic floor dysfunction, my hip impingement, and this inguinal hernia all may seem unrelated, our body is one system, right? Everything is connected. Stress in one part of the body can certainly affect how a neighboring part of the body feels and performs, etc. So I do think it is all connected in some way. But anyways, what this means for me though is, and I have not met with any surgeons yet, so I'll be meeting with a couple surgeons over the next couple weeks to understand my options. But again, I've done some research on this already as well. Generally speaking, especially if you're feeling symptoms, it's worth getting it surgically repaired. So in all likelihood, unless there's a really compelling reason why a surgeon doesn't think I should do it, I will likely look to get this surgically repaired sometime in the next few months. So this means a couple things for me. It means in the meantime, I will likely stop most of my weight training, particularly squats, deadlifts, any type of lift where you really need to brace yourself with that intra-abdominal pressure, just because that can make the hernia worse, and there's just no need to put myself in that position. So back off the weight training, which is really unfortunate because I had just started getting into a bit of a rhythm with it, but that's okay. And more importantly, this also means that when I do have surgery, I will obviously have to take a few weeks off to recover. You know, the recovery timelines could vary a little bit, but generally speaking, would likely be off the rower in any kind of intense exercise for at least a month, if not 5 or 6 weeks. Doesn't mean I'm lying in bed. In fact, most people that have hernia repairs are able to walk around, you know, even the first day, or certainly by the second day, are able to move around a little bit and then gradually ramp up their activity. But in any case, the recovery is going to be gradual. I'm going to make sure I am careful and that I don't rush back in to training. There are a couple ways to look at it, which again, I think me of 10, 15, 20 years ago, given this news, I'd probably be pretty bummed. I'd think, well, that sucks. I've put in all this work over the last 6 months to get myself to this point. It could feel like a pretty big step back. And, you know, of course, there will be some fitness lost in that process, during the recovery process. But I think there is a glass half full way to look at this, or a couple reasons. One, which I already touched on, is that I have a real specific diagnosis for something that is causing my discomfort. And two, this may force me actually to take a break that I otherwise might not. Just knowing myself, there's a very high probability that with no injury, I would train all the way through the end of the year. You know, I'd take certainly a light week every couple months, but I would likely train pretty hard through the rest of the year, which may set me up for burnout at some point, mentally, if not both physically and mentally. So I actually think this will be a good way to force a break into my schedule. And if I get the surgery done in July, that will hopefully have me at least resuming training sometime, by the end of August. Gives me plenty of time to, get ready and try to get in peak shape for next winter, which is indoor rowing season. So thankfully, because it's not really, the hernia is not causing me any discomfort, at least that I can correlate to training, I'll continue training hard up until my surgery. Anyways, just wanted to share that update. Let's focus on today. Today's task, going to do a workout that is part of the Concept 2 Cross Team Challenge, where every month there's a particular event or test on the rower. I guess over time, the CTC has grown to be quite large. And there's a whole online community around it. I'm not part of an indoor rowing team, but I can still do the workout, submit my score. So I figured, well, let me just do something new and fun that I wouldn't normally do in the program. So today's workout, which is April's Cross Team Challenge workout, they're calling it the Baker's Dozen, which is minute on, minute off times 13. So don't forget that extra one, the Baker's Dozen. So I'm gonna give that a try today. Again, I need to do more high intensity sprint work, so this will be perfect for that. Obviously short rest time too. Let's get into it. I'm not gonna lie, I got 3 or 4 intervals in and I thought, holy crap, I have 9 or 10 of these left. But, that's the mental battle. And these, minute on is short enough that even if you're tired, you can gut them out. I was definitely aided by this new floor fan that arrived over the weekend, which a 20-inch floor fan, which once it starts to heat up, actually it's pretty warm today. It's about 80 degrees outside, so likely in the mid 70s in here. And with both the floor fan behind me, the tower fan behind me and the floor fan facing me, actually felt pretty comfortable. I need to do these types of workouts more. I definitely feel like my top end speed is lacking. My aerobic fitness has gotten to a pretty good level, but my power just isn't quite there, which is, again, why I'm bummed that I can't continue my weight training for now until I get this hernia taken care of. But until next time, take care of yourselves, keep chasing. Peace.